Stay away from me, she warned, but her eyes begged me to stay closer. Whispers in the ruins. The lights of Nix Alder's research station flickered against the eternal night of Solace 4, a moon abandoned after the crystalline mines had been depleted. Rain pelted the reinforced dome, not water but liquid methane that rang like tiny bells against the polymer surface. Nix adjusted his atmospheric sensors, sighing as another one went offline. 6 months, he muttered, brushing dark hair from his eyes. 6 more months of solitude for the sake of science. He'd volunteered for this assignment, monitoring atmospheric anomalies on abandoned celestial bodies, partly for the research opportunity and partly to escape memories of Earth that followed him like shadows. The alarm from his perimeter sensors interrupted his thoughts. Something had triggered the motion detectors near the eastern ruins, the honeycomb of abandoned mining tunnels that glittered with worthless crystal fragments too small to harvest. Nix grabbed his field kit and environmental suit. Protocol said to report anomalies, not investigate them. But after 3 months alone, curiosity outweighed caution. The tunnels whispered with wind that shouldn't exist on an atmosphere-thin moon. His breath fogged his helmet as he followed the signal deeper into the labyrinth of crystal and stone. The tunnel walls glowed faintly purple, illuminating his path with light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. He turned a corner and froze. There, curled against the crystal wall, was a woman, if woman was the right word. Her skin shimmered with a faint purple luminescence, and where her right arm had been injured, light leaked out instead of blood. Her eyes snapped open, irises like violet galaxies against pitch-black sclera. "Don't come any closer," she hissed, her voice melodic despite the threat. She tried to stand but collapsed, the light from her wound dimming momentarily. "You're hurt," Nick said, taking a tentative step forward. "I can help." "Your help will kill me faster than this wound." She pressed herself against the wall. "The last humans who found one of my kind collected us like specimens." Nix removed his helmet slowly. "I'm a scientist, not a collector. My name is Nix Alder." "Names are powerful things to share," she whispered, studying his face with those starfield eyes. "But mine is Lyra." "You're Voidborn," Nix breathed, recognition dawning. He'd read about them, beings evolved in deep space, their bodies infused with cosmic radiation that gave them extraordinary abilities and made them targets for exploitation. Most were believed extinct after the Stellar Accords banned their hunting, a law too late to save many. "And you should leave me to die in peace," Lyra said, though her eyes betrayed a flicker of hope as they lingered on his medical kit. Nix knelt, maintaining distance. "I won't touch you without permission, but that wound needs treatment and I have supplies at my station." "Why would you help me?" Suspicion edged her voice. "Because you're alive, and that's reason enough." He placed a small medical scanner on the ground between them. "This will tell me what I'm dealing with." Lyra hesitated, then nudged the scanner closer to her wound with a graceful movement. As the device analyzed her injury, Nix noticed the delicate patterns swirling across her skin, constellations he couldn't name. "The Voidborn were said to navigate by starlight," he said softly. "Is that true?" A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "We don't navigate by stars. We are stars in a way, condensed light and cosmic dust." Her smile faded. "That's why they hunted us. Our essence can power ships' weapons." The scanner beeped. Nix studied the results, brow furrowed. "Your cellular structure is regenerating, but slowly. You need catalyst minerals, specifically the crystals from these caves." Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "How did you know?" "I'm good at puzzles, and the way your light interacts with these crystals." He gestured to the glow around them. "It's amplified. Resonance patterns." Rain drummed harder above as Nix extended his hand, not touching her but offering. "The storm's getting worse. My station is safe, shielded. No one knows I'm here except my sister, and she wouldn't tell anyone." "Stay away from me," Lyra warned, even as she swayed weakly. "My energy field is unstable. It could harm you." "But," Her eyes, those violet galaxies swimming with stars, told a different story. They spoke of loneliness, of years hiding in dark places, of a desperate need for someone to see her as more than a curiosity or resource. "I'm not afraid," Nyx said quietly, "and I think you're tired of being alone." The glow between us days passed in a delicate dance of distance and care. Nyx converted his research station's storage room into a sanctuary for Lyra, lining the walls with crystals harvested from the mines. The purple stones hummed in her presence, responding to the light that coursed through her veins. "The resonance is stronger today," Nyx observed, recording data as the crystals brightened when Lyra moved past them. He maintained the 3-meter distance she insisted upon, respecting the invisible boundary she'd drawn. "My strength returns," she said, flexing her once injured arm where new skin now glowed with subtle constellations. "Soon I can leave, return to the void." Her words were firm but lacked conviction. Nyx looked up from his tablet. "Where will you go?" Silence stretched between them. Finally, she whispered, "Nowhere. Everywhere. My people are scattered across galaxies, hiding in nebulae and asteroid fields." That evening, Nyx brought her a gift, a small crystal carved into a pendant. "I analyzed its composition. It resonates perfectly with your energy signature." Lyra took it cautiously, their fingers never touching. The crystal flared to life in her hand, pulsing with her heartbeat. "It's beautiful," she admitted. "But why?" "So you can regulate your energy field better. And," he hesitated, "so you have something of this place when you decide to leave." She clutched the pendant, studying him with those galaxy eyes. "You're unusual for a human. Most see only what they can take from others." "I see what I can learn," Nyx corrected, "and you've taught me more about stellar energy in days than I've learned in years of research." Lyra approached the viewport, gazing at the starfield beyond. "The difference between your people and mine isn't our composition. It's perspective. You look at stars from the outside. We see them from within." Nyx joined her at the window, careful to maintain distance. "Show me." Hesitantly, Lyra raised her hand. The lights dimmed, and suddenly the room filled with a projection of swirling galaxies emanating from her fingertips. Stars danced across the ceiling, nebulae bloomed on the walls. Nyx gasped as a perfect recreation of the cosmos surrounded them. "This is how I see everything," she said softly. "Light speaks to me. Even yours." "Mine?" Nyx asked, transfixed by the display. Lyra's gaze softened. "Humans emit light too faint for your eyes. But to me, you glow like embers." Her voice lowered. "Yours is different, steadier than most." As days turned to weeks, their conversations deepened. Lyra shared stories of riding solar winds between planets, of her people's history before persecution drove them into hiding. Nyx spoke of Earth's recovery efforts, his sister Ilara's work in xenobiology, and his own lonely childhood spent watching stars. "Why did you really come to this abandoned place?" Lyra asked one evening as they shared a meal. She absorbing light from crystals, he eating synthesized protein. Nyx's expression clouded. "Official reason? Research? The real reason?" He sighed. "After the resource wars, I couldn't stand being around people who still thought of space as something to conquer rather than understand." Lyra nodded. "Conquest versus communion. The eternal divide between our kinds." "Not all humans think that way," Nyx countered, then smiled ruefully. "Though enough do to make me prefer solitude." "Until now?" Lyra asked, a question hidden within a question. Their eyes met across the room, and something shifted in the careful balance they'd maintained. The crystals around them brightened in response to Lyra's quickening pulse. "Until now," Nyx agreed, voice barely above a whisper. "Though I'm not sure solitude accurately describes whatever this is becoming." For the first time since her arrival, Lyra smiled fully, a radiant expression that literally illuminated the room, sending patterns of light dancing across the walls. Nyx found himself smiling back. the distance between them suddenly feeling both vast and infinitesimal. That night, as Nick slept, Lyra watched over him from the doorway of her room. Her light dimmed to a gentle glow. She traced his sleeping form, with her gaze wondering at the strange warmth that spread through her whenever he was near. A warmth entirely different from the cosmic energy that sustained her. "What am I doing?" she whispered to herself. Humans and Voidborn cannot coexist. But as dawn broke over the methane seas of Solace 4, casting prismatic light through the dome, Lyra found herself drawn not to the freedom of open space visible through the viewport, but to the human who slept peacefully in the next room, a man who looked at her and saw not a resource or a curiosity, but a being worthy of understanding. Storm and silence. The warning came at midnight, a blaring alarm that jolted Nix from sleep. The station's sensors had detected an incoming meteor shower, far larger than the typical debris that peppered Solace 4's surface. "The shields won't hold against this," he told Lyra, checking the trajectory data. "We need to evacuate to the lower mines." Lyra froze. "The interference down there. I won't be able to maintain my energy field properly." "It's either that or risk the station being breached." Nix gathered emergency supplies. "The deepest tunnels have crystal formations that might help you stabilize." They had 20 minutes. Nix sealed his atmospheric research into the station's protected core and donned his environmental suit. Lyra needed no such protection. The void of space was her natural habitat. But she wrapped herself in a cloak of woven light, a defense mechanism that made her look more ethereal than ever. They descended into the honeycomb of abandoned tunnels just as the first meteors struck. The impact tremors shook loose crystal fragments that rained down like glittering snow. Deeper they went, following Nix's scanner toward the largest concentration of crystals. "Here," he said finally, entering a vast cathedral-like cavern where massive purple crystal formations jutted from floor to ceiling. "This should shelter us and help you maintain your energy." But something was wrong. Lyra's light flickered erratically, her form becoming translucent in places. "What's happening?" Nick stepped toward her, forgetting the 3-meter boundary in his concern. "The crystals," she gasped. "They're too pure, too powerful. They're drawing my energy too quickly. I can't." She collapsed to her knees, light spilling from her like water. Nix rushed forward, stopping just short of touching her. "Tell me how to help." Lyra looked up, her galaxy eyes dimming. "You can't. Physical contact with a human while I'm destabilized would be catastrophic." Another meteor struck above, closer this time. The cavern trembled, and a massive crystal broke free from the ceiling. Nix didn't think. He lunged forward, shoving Lyra aside as the crystal crashed where she had been kneeling. Their bodies connected, and light exploded between them. Nix expected pain, but instead felt a rush of sensation, of falling through stars, of burning without flame. Lyra's emotions flooded into him. Terror, solitude, and beneath it all, a desperate yearning for connection that mirrored his own. Lyra cried out, clutching his arms as her light engulfed them both. "You shouldn't have. The contact could kill you." But instead of harming him, her energy seemed to recognize something in Nix, swirling around and through him without burning. His skin glowed faintly where they touched, absorbing and reflecting her light in impossible patterns. "How?" she whispered, staring at their joined hands in wonder. Nix was equally astonished. "I don't know. Perhaps—" He paused, remembering something. "My mother worked in crystal mines before I was born. She always said the dust changed her somehow." Lyra touched his face tentatively, tracing the contours with glowing fingertips. "Your cellular structure? It's partially crystalline. Not enough to see, but enough to harmonize with my energy." The revelation hung between them as another impact shook the cavern. Crystals vibrated, singing with harmonic frequencies that made Lyra's light pulse stronger. She steadied herself against Nix, no longer afraid of harming him. "Stay close," she whispered, reversing her warning from when they first met. "My field will protect us both now." As the meteor storm raged above, they huddled together in a cocoon of violet light. Nix felt her heartbeat against his chest, faster than human rhythm but gradually synchronizing with his own. The boundaries between them, physical, energetic, emotional, began to blur. "I've been alone so long," Lyra confessed, her voice barely audible above the crystal song around them. "Even among my own kind I was different. too fascinated by humans and their worlds. Nyx's arms tightened around her. And I've been surrounded by people my whole life, yet never felt understood until now. In the silence between meteor impacts, surrounded by singing crystals and wrapped in her light, Nyx lowered his face to hers. Their lips met in a kiss that sent ripples of luminescence cascading through the cavern. Every crystal flared in response, bathing them in radiance. When they finally broke apart, Lyra's eyes were wide with wonder. I never thought I could feel this way with a human. I never thought I could feel this way at all, Nyx admitted, resting his forehead against hers. The storm continued through the night, but neither noticed its passing. In that crystal cavern, as their separate lights merged into one glow, they found a shelter more secure than any physical structure, a connection that defied the divisions of their kinds. Shadows cast by light. The aftermath of the meteor storm brought an eerie calm to Solace 4. Nyx and Lyra emerged from the crystal caverns to find the research station damaged but salvageable. As they worked together to repair the structure, something had fundamentally changed between them. The careful distance once maintained had vanished. Now Lyra's light wrapped around Nyx like a second skin, protective and intimate. The communication array is still down, Nyx reported after a day of repairs. We're completely off-grid. Lyra's expression showed conflicted relief. So no one knows about the storm? About me? Not yet. He paused his work, setting down tools to take her glowing hands in his. But eventually someone will come. My contract has 3 months remaining. They had created a sanctuary in their isolation, Lyra no longer hiding her true nature, Nyx recording discoveries that would revolutionize energy science if published. At night they shared a bed where their bodies merged in ways neither had thought possible, her light flowing through him, his humanity grounding her cosmic energy, until they glowed as one being. We could leave, Lyra suggested one evening as they watched twin moons rise over Solace 4's methane seas. Find a place between stars where neither your people nor mine would find us. Nyx kissed her luminous shoulder, watching ripples of light follow his touch across her skin. I have obligations, my sister, my research, he sighed. But I can't bear the thought of what would happen if the Stellar Confederation discovered you here. His concern proved prophetic. 3 days later, as they lay intertwined in sleep, proximity alarms jolted them awake. A Confederation vessel had entered orbit, responding to automated distress signals triggered during the meteor storm. Hide, Nyx urged, helping Lyra gather her few possessions. The crystal caverns. They'll scan for energy signatures, she interrupted, fear evident in her flickering light. They'll find me. The comm system crackled to life. Research Station Solace 4. This is Captain Varen Thorn of the CSS Horizon. Prepare for inspection team arrival. Nyx's mind raced. My sister Ilara is stationed on the horizon as a xenobiologist. If I could reach her first, Nyx. Lyra touched his face, her expression grave. Your sister works for the same people who would dissect me to study my light. Not Ilara, she's different. He activated the comm. CSS Horizon, this is Nyx Alder. Request direct communication with Dr. Ilara Alder before inspection team deployment. Minutes stretched like hours until a familiar voice responded. Nyx, thank the stars. We thought you might be dead after losing contact. Ilara, he breathed, relief flooding him. I need your help. He glanced at Lyra, who nodded permission. I've made a discovery. Something extraordinary, but I need your discretion. Silence followed. Then, stand by for private channel. When Ilara's hologram materialized in the station's comm center, her eyes widened at the sight of Lyra. A void-born, she whispered. Here, alive? Her name is Lyra, Nyx said firmly. And she's not a specimen, Ilara, she's... Words failed him. Lyra stepped forward, her light brightening with resolve. I am his partner. In all ways that matter. Ilara's scientific curiosity visibly battled with concern for her brother. Nyx, do you understand what will happen if Captain Thorn discovers her? The Confederation has standing orders to capture any void-born for research purposes. The disgust in her voice at the euphemism was evident. That's why I called you first, Nyx said. We need a way out. Ilara paced the holographic projection. Captain Thorn is ambitious. Discovering a void-born would fast-track his career. She stopped suddenly. I can delay the inspection team by 6 hours. Claim I need to test for exotic pathogens first. 6 hours isn't enough to... Nix began. It is if you take my research shuttle, Ilara interrupted. I've been studying the crystalline formations on Solace 4's southern hemisphere. The shuttle's prepped and stocked for a 2-week expedition. Hope flickered like Lyra's light. They'd track a shuttle, Nix argued. Ilara smiled grimly. Not if its transponder mysteriously malfunctions. Not if it disappears into the asteroid belt around Helios Prime. The next hours passed in frantic preparation. Nix downloaded his research, encoded with a key only Ilara would understand. Lyra concentrated her energy into the crystalline pendant he had given her, creating a reservoir she could draw from during their escape. As they prepared to leave, the station's sensors detected a shuttle approaching, ahead of schedule. It's Thorn, Ilara's voice crackled through the comm. He suspected something when I tried to delay. You need to go now. They ran for the emergency airlock where Ilara's research shuttle waited. Through the viewport, they could see the Confederation vessel deploying armed troops toward the station's main entrance. As they reached the shuttle, the station doors burst open. Captain Varen Thorn strode in, flanked by soldiers carrying energy-dampening weapons designed specifically for containing beings like Lyra. Citizen Alder, Thorn called, his voice echoing through the station. By Confederation law, you are harboring a Category Alpha restricted life form. Surrender it immediately. Her, Nix corrected, positioning himself between Lyra and the approaching soldiers. And she's not anyone's property. Thorn's cold eyes narrowed. Your sister's transmission was quite transparent. The Voidborn represents incalculable value to Confederation energy research. He gestured to his soldiers. Secure the specimen, alive. I'm sorry. Ilara's hologram appeared, her face anguished. They monitored the channel. Get to the shuttle. Nix slammed his hand on the emergency release. The airlock door began its agonizingly slow descent as soldiers advanced. Lyra's light intensified, creating a barrier between them and their pursuers. Last warning, Thorn called. That creature is Confederation property. Nix stood tall beside Lyra, their hands intertwined, her light flowing through him. You see a specimen, he shouted back. I see the woman I love. The words hung in the air as the airlock finally sealed. The shuttle detached with a violent jolt. Nix at the controls while Lyra channeled her energy to boost their acceleration beyond the vessel's specifications. Behind them, the Horizon-launched pursuit craft. Ahead lay the turbulent asteroid belt of Helios Prime, dangerous for conventional ships but navigable for someone who could see and manipulate energy fields. I love you too, Lyra whispered as they plunged toward the asteroids, her light surrounding them both like a protective cocoon. Whatever happens next. Beyond the eclipse. The asteroid belt of Helios Prime was a graveyard of ships and ambitions, a chaotic dance of rock and ice illuminated by the crimson light of a dying star. For 3 days, the research shuttle weaved through the debris field, guided by Lyra's ability to sense energy patterns and anticipate collisions seconds before they occurred. They're still searching the outer rim, Nix observed, checking the modified scanner Ilara had installed. But they can't enter the belt without larger ships. Lyra stood at the viewport, her luminescence dimmed to avoid detection. The constant use of her abilities had left her drained. The purple glow of her skin faded to a soft lavender. We can't hide here forever. We won't have to. Nix pulled up a star chart on the shuttle's navigation system. Before communications cut off, Ilara transmitted coordinates. Apparently she's had contact with others like you. Hope flickered across Lyra's face. Voidborn survivors? And humans who helped them. Nix highlighted a small planetoid at the edge of charted space. There's a colony there, Umbra Haven, founded by scientists who oppose Confederation policies on non-human life forms. The journey would take weeks, pushing the shuttle's life support systems to their limits. Each day brought new challenges, radiation storms that Lyra absorbed to protect the fragile craft, food rationing as supplies dwindled, and the constant fear of detection. Yet in the confined space of the shuttle, their bond deepened. Nix learned to channel small amounts of Lyra's energy through his partially crystalline cellular structure, helping her conserve strength. In turn, she taught him to perceive the universe through energy patterns, a symphony of light invisible to most humans. I never thought I'd share the void sense with anyone, Lyra confessed as they floated in zero gravity, their bodies wrapped together while stars streamed past. It was always our most sacred ability. Nyx traced the constellation patterns on her skin that brightened at his touch. And I never imagined finding someone who made the universe feel both infinitely larger and more intimate. On the 17th day, as resources reached critical levels, they crossed into the shadow of a massive gas giant, the outer sentinel of the Umbra system. The planetoid beyond was unremarkable, a rocky world with thin atmosphere and sparse vegetation. "Are you sure this is right?" Nyx questioned as they entered orbit. There were no signs of habitation visible from space. Lyra closed her eyes, extending her senses. There's energy below. Carefully shielded, but familiar. Her eyes snapped open, galaxies swirling in their depths. "My people. They're here." They landed in a barren valley surrounded by crystalline formations similar to those on Solace 4, though these glowed with multiple colors, blue, green, amber, and purple veins intertwining through the rock. As the shuttle powered down, figures emerged from what had appeared to be solid stone, a holographic camouflage concealing the entrance to an underground complex. 3 Voidborn approached, their skin shimmering with different hues than Lyra's. One blue as deep ocean, another green as summer leaves, the third a burnished gold. Among them walked humans wearing simple clothing adorned with crystal fragments. "Welcome to Umbra Haven," spoke the blue-skinned Voidborn. "I am Kaelin. Your sister Alara has been our contact in the Confederation for years, Nyx Alder." Nyx's surprise must have shown on his face, for Kaelin continued. "She never told you because knowledge would have made you complicit. She's diverted many research missions to protect our location." Lyra stepped forward, her hand firmly in Nyx's. "I am Lyra, last survivor of the Stellar Drift clan. This is my bondmate." The term hung in the air, new yet somehow ancient in its implication. The gathered Voidborn exchanged glances, energy patterns rippling between them in silent communication. "A true bond between human and Voidborn hasn't been seen in generations," the green-skinned one said. "Not since the early contact days before the resource wars." "It's why you survived physical connection," added the golden one, studying them with interest. "His crystalline cellular structure harmonizes with your cosmic energy." They were led underground to a vast cavern illuminated not by artificial light, but by the collective glow of dozens of Voidborn. The settlement was a marvel of organic architecture, crystal formations shaped into dwellings, gardens of bioluminescent plants, and at the center, a pool of liquid light that pulsed like a heart. "The Haven Core," Kaelin explained. "It sustains us and powers our shield technology. With it, we remain invisible to Confederation scanners." That evening, as they shared their story with the colony's leadership council, Nyx realized they had found not just safety, but purpose. These people, human and Voidborn alike, were creating something unprecedented. A society where different forms of life complemented rather than competed with each other. "Your research on energy transference could revolutionize our sustainability," a human scientist named Maya told Nyx excitedly. "And Lyra's ability to harmonize with human cellular structures might help us develop better medical treatments for radiation exposure." Later, as they stood alone by the Haven Core, Lyra's light merged with the pool, creating ripples of purple across its surface. "This could be home," she said softly. "A place where we're neither human nor Voidborn, but something new." Nyx wrapped his arms around her from behind, feeling the now familiar warmth of her energy flowing through him. "We'll build something here that the Confederation never imagined possible. And one day," Lyra added, turning in his embrace, "when there are enough of us, perhaps we can show them a different way of seeing the universe. Not as resources to be extracted, but connections to be understood." The light between them brightened, casting their joined shadow against the crystal walls, a single silhouette where once there would have been 2 separate forms. Rumors spread throughout the galaxies in the years that followed. Tales of a sanctuary where Voidborn light mingled with human ingenuity, where children were born with stars in their eyes and crystalline hearts. Some called it myth. The Confederation declared it dangerous propaganda, but on a small planetoid beyond the edges of charted space, beyond the eclipse of conventional thinking, Nyx and Lyra continued their impossible union. proof that even the most fundamental differences could be bridged by understanding. Patience and love that transcended the boundaries of species and stars. In the end, it wasn't Lyra's warning to stay away that defined their story, but Nyx's choice to come closer, and her decision to let him in. Together they created something neither could have imagined alone. A future illuminated by shared light.